I still remember the sound of the church bells that morning in Denver, America, ringing through the cold air like they were calling everyone except me. I woke up early, before the sun had even touched the tops of the houses in my neighborhood. My small white house on Maple Ridge Lane looked almost magical in the morning light. My kitchen counters were covered with leftover cake samples, open folders with payment receipts, and the little satin ribbons I had tied around the wedding favors. I had spent months planning everything, saving every extra dollar I could spare. I even worked double shifts at the clinic just to make sure the wedding dress I wanted, a soft lace gown that cost almost $900, could finally be mine. My friends kept saying the day would be perfect, that everything was falling into place. I wanted to believe them. I walked around the house touching the flowers we bought from a shop in downtown Denver, and for a moment, I felt like the happiest woman alive. The ceremony was supposed to start at 11, and everyone was already getting dressed. My bridesmaids were sending me photos and voice messages, laughing and telling me to calm down, but my heart was racing. Not out of fear, but out of excitement. I truly thought I was walking toward a new chapter filled with love and safety. By 9:30, I was already in my wedding dress, standing in the living room, looking at my reflection in the tall mirror near the window. My hair was pinned up in a soft style with little pearls tucked between the curls. My makeup was simple, light, and gentle. I wanted Adam to see the real me, not a mask. My parents were supposed to pick me up soon, and I kept checking the clock like a child waiting for her birthday party to start. Then the doorbell rang. I expected my parents to walk in smiling. I expected my mother to tell me I looked beautiful. Instead, she stepped inside with a strange look, almost like she was hiding something she found amusing. My father followed behind her. They both stood there, silent for a moment, like they were preparing to act in some play I had not been told about. "Sweetheart," my mother finally said, placing her hand on my arm, "you need to sit down." I did not sit. Something sharp twisted inside my stomach. "Is everything okay? Did something happen at the church?" Her voice did not shake. It did not soften. "He is not coming for you. Adam is choosing your sister instead." It felt like the room went silent, like the entire house breathed in at once and held it. My ears started ringing. I stared at her, waiting for her to laugh, waiting for someone to shout that it was just a joke. But when my sister, Lily, stepped forward from behind them wearing a lavender dress instead of her bridesmaid gown, I understood it was real. She was smiling. Not soft or sad. She was smiling like someone who had finally won. My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" My voice did not even sound like mine. Adam walked into the doorway right then. He was dressed in a new suit I had helped him pick only a month earlier. He did not look guilty or confused. He looked calm, almost proud. I forced my voice to stay steady. "Why?" He answered like he was talking about a normal business decision. "You are too careful. Too soft. Your sister fits the life I want." My mother nodded. "It suits her more. You should understand that." Understand. That was always the word she used when she wanted me to accept pain quietly. Understand. Accept. Be grateful. Be silent. My legs felt weak, and for a second I thought I would faint. I looked at them, all of them, standing together as if this was something normal. As if I should smile and wish them good luck. My heart was breaking in a slow, heavy way that made my breath shake. I had loved Adam. I had trusted him. I believed everything he ever told me. And now he stood there choosing my sister as if love was something you could trade like a car or a house. I could not stay in that room another second. I grabbed the edge of my dress so I would not trip and ran past them, out of the house, out into the cold air. I heard my mother calling my name, but I did not stop. I kept running until I reached my small car. My wedding dress was torn at the bottom by the time I slammed the door shut. I drove without knowing where I was going. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost missed a stop sign. Tears kept falling until the road in front of me blurred. I finally reached an empty parking lot behind a grocery store, and I parked the car and cried until my throat hurt. By the time I returned home, the sky was dim, and the world felt like it had moved on without me. My house, the one I had decorated with so much hope, felt cold and empty. I sat on the couch, still wearing pieces of my wedding dress, staring at the wall, wondering how everything had gone wrong in one morning. I thought I was the unlucky one. I thought my life had fallen apart forever. What I did not know was that the real disaster had not happened to me at all. It was waiting for them. The morning after my ruined wedding felt heavy and slow, like the world was still deciding if I deserved a new day or not. I barely slept. I kept replaying the moment Adam said he chose my sister, the look on my mother's face, the way my father stood behind them like a silent stamp of approval. My wedding dress lay in a torn pile on the floor near the couch. My eyes were swollen, and every part of me felt drained. I thought the pain would stay quiet for a few hours, at least long enough for me to breathe. But by 9 in the morning, my phone began ringing. First once, then twice, then again and again with no break in between. I ignored it at first. I thought it was Adam calling to see if I would beg. Or maybe my mother, ready to lecture me about remaining graceful, even when betrayed. I refused to give any of them the satisfaction. But the ringing would not stop. I finally picked it up without even checking the screen. What? The scream that came through the phone hit me like a slap. You knew. You knew he was a deceiver. Why did you not tell me? It was Lily, my sister, the one who stole my fiancé, the one who smiled while I stood broken in my living room. Her voice cracked with fear, anger, and something else I had never heard from her before. Panic. I sat up on the couch and gripped the phone tighter. What are you talking about? I never knew anything. She was crying so hard that her words came out in little pieces. He made me sign all my properties last night. My apartment in Boston. My lake house in Michigan. My shares. All of it. He said it was just paperwork for our future. He said we needed to merge assets because we were getting married. I blinked. You signed everything to him? Yes. Everything. He put something in my drink after. I woke up on the floor. Every file was gone. Every document. My bag. My keys. Even the safe keys. Everything is in his name now. For a moment, I did not speak. My heart did not move. My breath did not move. I picture her apartment in Boston, the one she bragged about buying for $420,000. The lake house she inherited from our grandfather, worth more than $300,000. The stocks she always flaunted. She used to wave her success in my face like I should be proud of her for winning while I lost. And now, she had lost it all in one night. And he left, she whispered, her voice breaking. His phone is off. His car is gone. His wallet location is turned off. He is gone. He took everything. That was when something inside me cracked open. Not in pain, in disbelief, in a strange, almost wild kind of amusement. I started laughing, not loud, not cruel, but helpless. The kind of laughter that bursts out after years of being pushed aside, years of holding your tears while others stepped on your heart. She had stolen my fiancé, but he had stolen her entire life. You really think I knew? I said when I finally stopped laughing. I had no clue who he really was. He fooled me, too. But you let him in deeper. You let him into every part of your life. She sobbed harder. Mom and Dad are yelling at me. They said you should have been the one to take the fall. They said he was supposed to ruin your life, not mine. Of course, they said that. Of course, they wished he had destroyed me instead. My parents had always protected Lily, like she was some rare jewel made of gold. I was the extra daughter, the one who should always be last, the one who should always accept pain with a small, polite smile. But fate had turned the tables in a way none of us expected. Where are you now? I asked. In the driveway, she cried. They locked me out of the house. They said I humiliated the family. They said I brought shame. They think I helped him on purpose. That made something tighten in my chest. Not sympathy, not comfort. Something sharper. Something that felt like justice. Lily, I said quietly, Adam is not who any of us thought. He is a liar. A A thief. He used both of us. But you gave him everything he needed. She cried harder. I could hear her pacing somewhere outside, the sound of gravel under her shoes, the cold wind hitting the phone microphone. If this were any other day, I might have tried to help her. I might have tried to fix things. But I had cried alone while she celebrated her victory. I had been betrayed while she stood proud. Now she stood alone. He took all my money, she whispered. All my houses. My car. My savings. Even my paintings. Everything I owned is gone. I leaned back on the couch and stared at the torn wedding dress across the room. The same dress she had watched me wear before she stole my fiancé. Now she had nothing. And I was the only person she could call. For the first time in my life, I felt no need to chase their approval. I felt no urgency to fix what greed had broken. Because the truth was simple. They chose him over me. They pushed me aside. They let greed guide them. And greed had taken everything from them in return. I ended the call after a few minutes, letting her words hang in the air. I knew more fallout was coming. More blame. More chaos. More anger. But for the first time in years, none of it belonged to me. The storm was theirs now. 2 days after the wedding disaster, I thought things could not possibly get worse for my family. I believed the chaos had finally exhausted itself. But life had one more truth waiting for us, and it came early in the morning while I was drinking coffee in my small Denver kitchen. My phone buzzed with an unknown New York number. Normally, I never answer unfamiliar calls, but something inside me told me to pick up. "Is this Miss Carter?" the man asked. His voice was calm, but carried a weight I could not place. "Yes." "Who is this?" "My name is Samuel Grant. I am an investigator working with a private financial recovery firm. I am calling regarding a man named Adam Lewis." Hearing Adam's name made my stomach drop, but not with love or sadness. With suspicion. With clarity. With a cold understanding I could not ignore. "What about him?" I asked, trying to steady my breath. He let out a slow sigh. "Ma'am, I believe your family has been targeted by a property fraud criminal who has been active across America and parts of Europe for the past 6 years." I leaned back against the counter, gripping the edge. "What are you saying?" "I am saying," he continued, "that Adam Lewis is not his real name. He has used at least 9 different identities. He moves from state to state, chooses families with high assets, especially ones with weak internal trust, and builds romantic or emotional connections to extract property." My heart thudded. He did this before? At least 3 times that we can confirm. 1 case in Ohio, 1 in Virginia, and 1 in Spain during a short stay. In each case, he left with assets totaling more than $1 million. I pressed my hand over my mouth. Not because I was shocked he was capable of such things, but because I realized how close I had come to being the next victim. "He nearly married me," I whispered. "He left me at the altar." The investigator paused. "Then he did you the greatest favor of your life, ma'am." For a moment, the kitchen felt too small, too warm, too full of truths. I walked to the living room and sat down by the window where my plants lined the sill. My heart hammered in my chest as he continued. "I spoke with your sister earlier," he said, "and she confirmed that she signed over all her properties to him. Every document she described matched his usual pattern. He convinces the target that merging assets is a sign of trust, then uses legal paperwork to transfer ownership entirely to himself." My voice was barely a whisper. "So, everything she signed is real?" "Yes. It is legally binding. Her signature is clear. She transferred her apartment in Boston, the lake house in Michigan, her investment accounts, and even her car. Everything is now under his name." I closed my eyes as he spoke. I pictured her old brick apartment in Boston, the one with the long balcony she loved posting photos from. The lake house with the stone fireplace and the small dock. All of it is gone. Not stolen in the night. Signed away willingly in her greed. He continued, after reviewing the documents, "We believe your sister lost around $1.1 million in total assets." My breath caught. Lily always believed she was untouchable. She always believed her beauty and charm protected her from the world. But Adam had seen right through that. He chose her because she was easier to manipulate, the investigator added, almost reading my thoughts. Not because she was better. Because she was less careful. Men like him prey on confidence that has no caution. Something inside me shifted. For years, I thought he stayed with me because I was safe or boring. But the truth was simpler. I had boundaries. I questioned things. I asked for time. Those small habits saved my life. Where is he now? I asked. We believe he left the country this morning. He liquidated the lake house for $320,000, sold the car for $28,000, emptied the investment account into an offshore wallet, and boarded a flight out of New York under a different name. I took a slow, shaking breath. So he is gone. For now, the investigator said. We will continue our search, but recovery takes time. I wanted to inform you so you can protect yourself. He will not target you anymore because you did not give him what he wanted. I guess being careful finally helped, I said quietly. It saved you, he replied. When the call ended, I sat alone in my living room for a long time. The sunlight moved across the hardwood floor as hours passed, but I barely noticed. The truth about Adam settled into me slowly. Not like a wound, but like a warning. He never loved me. He never loved Lily. He loved money, property, and control. And my family had handed him a feast. Later that evening, my parents called me. Their voices were tight, their words careful. They wanted me to come home and talk as adults. That was their favorite phrase when they wanted something from me. But for the first time in my life, I did not feel afraid to say no. I told them I was done fixing problems I never created. I was done being their emotional shield. I was done being the daughter who always had to swallow pain so they could feel comfortable. Their silence on the line was colder than any winter storm in Colorado, but I did not care. After the call ended, I closed all the blinds, made myself a simple dinner, and sat at my small oak table. My home, though modest, was safe. Nothing in it was stolen. Nothing in it was signed away. Everything was mine, because I earned it with my own hands. For the first time in many years, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. And though my family's world was falling apart, mine was finally standing still. A week after everything collapsed, I was finally starting to breathe again. The nights were still heavy, but they were no longer filled with tears. The house felt quiet, almost too quiet, but it was my quiet. My space. My peace. I had just finished cleaning the small kitchen when I heard a soft knock at the door. Not loud. Not angry. Just a tired sound that barely reached the wood. When I opened the door, my sister, Lily, stood there like a shadow of who she used to be. Her usually perfect blonde hair was tied in a loose, messy knot. Her bright clothes were gone, replaced with a stretched gray sweater and jeans that looked like they had been pulled from the bottom of an old drawer. The girl who used to walk like the world owed her applause was now standing hunched, small, and trembling. I lost everything, she whispered, her eyes filling with tears as she stepped inside. Her voice sounded like she had swallowed gravel. She looked around my living room, almost surprised by how calm it was. I had always chosen simple things. Wooden shelves, soft blankets, a few candles by the window. She sat on the couch slowly, like she was afraid it might break under the weight of her guilt. She stared at the floor for a long time before speaking again. I wanted everything. The houses, the money, the wedding, the attention. I wanted to be the one everyone admired. She swallowed hard, her voice cracking. And look what I got. Nothing. I sat across from her, my hands folded in my lap. The old version of me would have rushed to hug her, to comfort her, to fix everything. But I had learned too much in the last week. I had learned that helping people who never help you only teaches them to take more. Greed always takes more than it gives, I said quietly. She closed her eyes as if my words stung. Maybe they did. Maybe she needed them to. For years, Lily had lived in a world where she always got what she wanted. Our parents fed her pride like it was a living creature that needed constant attention. I watched it grow bigger and bigger until it swallowed every trace of kindness she had left. And now that creature had turned on her. It had eaten her future, her comfort, her security. The silence stretched between us until she finally whispered, "Mom and Dad said this is your fault." I let out a small breath. Not surprised. Just tired. Of course they did. They said you should help me fix this, she continued. They said you should lend me money. They said family supports each other. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not as the girl who stole my fiancé, not as the sister who always wanted more, but as a woman facing the consequences of her choices. She was scared. She was ashamed. But she was not innocent. "And what do you think?" I asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "I think I should have listened to you more. I think I should have loved you more. I think I let everyone tell me I was better than you." Her voice broke, and it ruined me. For a moment, I felt a small ache in my chest. Not fresh pain, but old pain waking up. I stood and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street. I could have forgiven everything right then. I could have opened my arms and pulled her close. But something inside me reminded me of every night I cried alone, every time I was pushed aside, every time she laughed at me just to feel taller. "I cannot fix this," I said softly, "and I will not pay for the choices you made." Her eyes widened. "I am your sister." "And I was your sister too," I replied. "When I needed you, you stood beside the man who broke me. When I cried, you celebrated. When I asked why, you never cared. Family goes two ways, Lily." She put her head in her hands and sobbed. Real sobs. The kind that shakes the whole body. I watched her for a few moments before gently handing her a glass of water. I was not cruel, but I was done being the shield everyone leaned on. She stayed for an hour, then left quietly, walking down the path like someone who had lost her map and did not know where she belonged anymore. My parents contacted me that evening. Their voices were sharp, cold, and full of blame. They insisted I step up, that I owed them help. They said this was the moment I should prove I was part of the family. But I had nothing left to prove. For the first time in my life, I said no without shaking. I told them I was done. I told them I would not carry their mistakes or their greed. They went silent for a moment, then exploded into anger. They shouted words meant to cut, but none of them reached me. I hung up the phone calmly. That night, I sat at my small oak table and opened my laptop. I searched for houses outside Denver, in quieter areas with more space and more light. It took a week of looking, but I found a cottage for $210,000. A small place with a warm fireplace, a wooden porch, and a garden big enough for roses and lavender. I bought it with my own money. No loans. No gifts. No help. Moving there felt like stepping into a different life. The air felt lighter. The nights were quieter. The neighbors were kind. Every morning, I opened the windows and breathed in fresh air that did not taste like broken promises. Adam was gone. My sister had lost everything. My parents refused to learn anything. But I walked away untouched. Not because I was lucky. Not because I was special. But because I had chosen caution. I had chosen myself. Sometimes, the moment you lose what you thought you wanted is the moment you are saved from a disaster you never saw coming. And sometimes the life you build after the heartbreak becomes the life you were meant to have all along. That is how I found my freedom. Not at my wedding. Not in my family's shadow. But in the quiet truth that I never needed any of them.